are listening to Lighthearted, the official podcast of the United States Lighthouse Society. My name is Jeremy D'Entremont. Welcome. Today is December 28th, 2025, and this is episode 333 of Lighthearted. I hope everyone's holiday season is going well. Today we're going to listen to a conversation about the tallest lighthouse in the world, Ile Vierge in France. Before we get to the interview, I want to let everyone know about a new U.S. Lighthouse Society podcast called Be the Light. It will be hosted by Sarah McHugh, who has co-hosted this podcast occasionally. Let me read a little bit of how Sarah describes the new podcast. Quote, Be the Light is a podcast dedicated to celebrating the individuals who are standing as beacons of hope, compassion, and change in their communities. Like a lighthouse, our guests are doing incredible work in big and small ways that help those around them navigate challenges, spark positivity, and spread light in dark places. Each episode, we sit down with everyday heroes who are making an impact in meaningful ways. Through personal stories, practical advice, and candid conversations, Be the Light inspires listeners to discover their own light and consider how they can contribute to making the world a brighter place, unquote. We don't have a start date yet for the new podcast, but it will be announced very soon. I think it's a great idea. Lighthouses provide hope and inspiration, so the USLHS doing a podcast based around hope and inspiration seems like a perfect idea to me. So now I'd like to get to today's interview. The subject is Ile Vierge Lighthouse in Brittany, France. I visited there in June. Brittany is a peninsula in northwestern France. It's bordered by the English Channel to the north and the Celtic Sea and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. From Brittany, it's only about 90 miles to the north to Cornwall in England. Ile Vierge is a 15-acre island off the northwest coast of Brittany. About 1450, the Franciscans established an abbey on the island. The name Ile Vierge, or Virgin Island, probably comes from a chapel they dedicated to the Virgin Mary. It's also said that the name relates to the difficulty of cultivating the bare, windswept island, keeping it virgin or unspoiled. The first lighthouse on the island was a 108-foot-tall square tower that began service in 1845. It was considered too short, and a new tower was built between 1896 and 1902. The new lighthouse tower is built of granite blocks and stands 271 feet tall, with nearly 400 steps inside. It's considered the tallest traditional-style lighthouse in the world. Our guest today is Valeria Araúz Molina, who is the Ile Vierge project manager. She's been a guide at other lighthouses in Brittany as well, and she's guided tours in French, English, and Spanish. Let's listen to my conversation with Valeria now. I'm speaking this morning, at least it's morning where I am, over here in New Hampshire in the United States, but I'm speaking with Valeria Araúz Molina, who is in France. Thank you so much for speaking with me today, Valeria. It's nice to meet you via Zoom anyway.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You know, when I visited Ile Vierge on my France trip in June, it was absolutely amazing. I just love the place so much, and I was on a U.S. Lighthouse Society tour for most of the month, but then I was in Brittany for a couple of days on my own. And getting out to Ile Vierge, I'd say, was one of my peak lighthouse experiences ever. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing lighthouse stuff for 40 years, so it was just fantastic. So I'm so happy to have the chance to talk to you about Ile Vierge today. Tell me, first of all, clarify for me, what is your job title there?
I'm the project manager for L'Ile Vierge, for the Ile Vierge lighthouses.
And I think people may notice, I certainly noticed right away, that your name is not French. Where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm from Puerto Rico.
So you're American?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I'm from Puerto Rico, yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, how did you end up in France?
Well, it's a little bit of a cliche. When I was a kid, I was really interested and I fell in love with the Little Prince story, Le Petit Prince.
Yep.
And I wanted to learn French when I was a kid. And then I came here to France for the first time in 2015. And then I decided to stay to do my master's degrees in 2016, 17.
I took, not that it did me a lot of good for I don't exactly speak French now, but I took 4 years of French in school, and we read The Little Prince in French in my French class. So I think that's part of how a lot of people fall in love with the French language and culture, certainly is
Yeah,
that.
I think so. I think so. I
Yeah.
have a big collection of The Little Prince in several languages
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with it. So I do want to get to the Lighthouse, but just a little bit more about you. I saw that you studied foreign languages and Celtic languages in college.
Yes, in Puerto Rico, I study foreign languages, and that's how I learned French. And then
Hmm.
I did an internship. Well, in Europe, it will be Erasmus. I did an exchange program in 2015, and I fell in love with the Celtic culture, the Breton culture, and I wanted to study a little bit more.
Hmm.
That's where I decided to do my master degrees in Celtic culture and languages.
How many languages do you speak?
I could say today 3.5.
Hmm.
I've studied 9, and I'm
Okay.
still studying 9. I would
Wow.
say Spanish, English, French. I understand very well German, and I can
Hmm.
speak better Portuguese. But I learned Portuguese from Brazil, being from the Caribbean.
Okay. Yeah. Well, most of us here in the United States barely speak one language. So I'm impressed, and your English is beautiful. It's perfect. So, and I'm sure you speak perfect French and Spanish, obviously, as well. So, before we get to the Lighthouse, one more question that relates to your experience. What is so special about Brittany to you? And let me just say that again, I visited Brittany at the end of my France tour in June, and I fell in love with the area. I just think it's so beautiful. What appeals to you about Brittany?
Was it your first time in Brittany
It
this
was,
summer?
yes, yes.
I think the part that really brought me more inclined to be here to learn about the history and the culture was the fact that the Breton identity and also the landscapes. The landscapes are beautiful. And as someone that has been always interested in Celtic and Viking cultures, it was really beautiful to could mix my passion for the language, French language, and also the passion of wanting to know more about the Celtic countries and history and culture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It kind of brings together those interests. So, moving on to the Lighthouse, okay?
Yeah.
Ile Vierge, and pardon my mediocre French pronunciation. I have a French last name, but my French is not great. But obviously, Ile Vierge, Virgin Island, I imagine that the name relates
Yeah.
to the Virgin Mary, but how did it get its name originally?
So if you need to know that it is named after its lack of vegetation. So the island is virgin itself.
Hmm. Okay.
Aside from the marine flora and due to the high salinity of the soil, no vegetation can grow on the island. But you have to know that in the 1432, the Franciscan friar monks tried to build a convent dedicated to the Virgin Mary. They stayed for more or less 70 years, but they couldn't grow food, and that's why they left the island and moved to the La Baie des Anges in La Berbrac in Landeda. And also we also say to our visitors, and it's true, the first lighthouse was lit up for the first time on the 15th of August 1845. So the name itself is from the lack of vegetation that can grow on the island, but yes, it has to do something about the Virgin Mary when we're with the part of the Franciscan friars, and also the fact that the first lighthouse was lit up on the 15th of August. That's the Virgin Mary's Day.
So that's very interesting. By the way, I stayed for a night across from the Saint Mathieu Lighthouse in Brittany on that
Yeah,
same trip, and that's a beautiful place. And there's the ruins of an ancient abbey right next to the lighthouse, which was pretty fascinating. I'm sure you're very
that's true,
familiar
and
with that
that's
place.
the
Yeah.
the the abbey. The abbey, yes, I will the Ile Vierge lighthouse is my fourth lighthouse. So I've worked in San Mateo Lighthouse and
Oh,
also two other lighthouses on that same coast. And
okay.
the first lighthouse, it was actually built on that convent, on that abbey.
Yeah. Oh, it was a fantastic place. I stayed at the hotel that's right across the
Yeah.
street from it, and looking out my window, I could see the lighthouse
Hmm.
of the Abbey and the cliff there, and what a fantastic place. I have to say
It
that
is really beautiful.
yeah, that and Ile Vierge were absolute peak experiences. So why was the lighthouse needed there? What was going on that required a lighthouse? And I think the first lighthouse in Ile Vierge was built in, was it like 1845? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, 1845, the first lighthouse. But
Mm-hmm.
we need to know that the location is ideal. The island, it's between Ile de Bas in Roscoff and Wesson Island, and we
Mm-hmm.
needed to have a lighthouse to secure the maritime route for the boats. And that's why there's the first lighthouse that was lit up, like I said, on the 15th of August, 1845. And then we're gonna notice that the lights range was insufficient for this area. And that's why after 5 years, we're gonna lit up the second lighthouse in 1902.
So, as you said, the newer lighthouse, the taller one, was built in 1902, replacing the one built in the 1840s, although they both still stand. But why was such a tall lighthouse needed? Such an extremely tall lighthouse. Why was that built?
Because it was soon realized that the small lighthouse light range was not enough. It was 14 nautical miles, 26 kilometers. We could see the lighthouse, the light of the lighthouse in 26 kilometers, but we needed a light range of at least 30 kilometers, 70 nautical miles to secure the entrance of Pays des Abers. And that's why the second lighthouse was lit up. But the
Hmm.
smallest lighthouse was still the house for the lighthouse keepers.
So that's why it still stands. And I do want to talk a little bit more about the keeper's house. But first of all, how long did it take to build that tall lighthouse?
5 years.
5 years.
Years without any accidents, or problems. Apparently, it was smooth. Even though we're on an island, it is difficult to come and go sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive that there were no serious injuries or deaths or anything in building it over 5 years. That's pretty incredible. So again, the keepers lived in the house attached to the earlier tower, the shorter tower. How many keepers were there assigned there? How many lived there? And did they live with their families, or was it just the male keepers?
So between 1845 until 2010, there were in total 75 lighthouse keepers living on the island, and there were only male lighthouse keepers. Here in France, only on the mainland lighthouses, they would live with their families if there was
Mhm.
space.
So in this country, we would call a station like that where it's male keepers only. They call it a stag station. I don't know if they have a term like that in France, but stag station, yeah, STAG, like stag deer, male deer.
Yeah,
And how many keepers would live there at one time? Was it two keepers at one time?
there were two or three keepers depending on the period.
Hmm.
And it's funny that you mentioned the name that they will call this type of lighthouses where only men live. In France, they will classify the lighthouses depending on the living conditions and the work conditions. I don't know if you heard about that during your visit.
I'm not sure. I know when I think of French lighthouses, I often think of the phrase enfer et paradis, the hell and heaven, kind of the extremes of lighthouse life. But I'm not sure what your
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly that. Yeah, it's they're gonna be classified in paradise, purgatory, and hell.
Mm-hmm.
The lighthouses located on mainland, they are heaven, paradise, because they would usually live with their families, and even the wives will help with the guarding to guard the light.
Mm-hmm.
And purgatory are the lighthouses on the islands like Ile Vierge. And hell would be the lighthouses offshore out at sea. And sometimes, most of the times actually, that will also correspond, will be the progression of their careers. They will start in hell to finish in paradise, in heaven.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty similar here, actually, very similar. And when I do lectures, I lecture a lot about lighthouses, and I always bring up that enfer et paradis, saying. And do you happen to know the photographer, the French photographer Jean Guichard? Do you know? Are you familiar with him? He's kind of a friend. He took that very famous photo of the La Jamante lighthouse off Brittany, with the wave wrapping around it and the keeper standing in the doorway. One of his books is called Enfer et Paradis. That's the title of one of his books. Let me ask you, are there any other stories relating to what life was like there for the keepers? Any particular stories that you find interesting?
I'm always interested with women lighthouse keepers. For example, I don't know if you know, in this area, the Pays des Abers, there's 4 lighthouses, 2 in Ile Vierge, there's 1 in Ile Vierge, and there's another one on the mainland, Lanvin. And the first lighthouse keeper for the big lighthouse left his wife on Ile Vierge to be the lighthouse keeper for 10 years by herself. And I always like that story because I always imagine them sending themselves messages, but
so they each had their own lighthouse, basically.
Exactly. I find that really romantic. I don't know.
Well, I guess living on separate islands, I'm not sure romantic, but maybe it saved their marriage to each have their own lighthouse. I actually knew a couple who lived on an island in this country, in Massachusetts, called Thatcher Island. There are 2 lighthouses on the island, and they if they got mad at each other, they'd each go to their own lighthouse. So
sometimes you need space.
We all need our own lighthouse sometimes. Yeah. When were the keepers removed from Ile Vierge? When did the last keepers leave there?
The lighthouse was automated in 2010, and they left that year.
That's pretty late in the scheme of things in the world. In our country, they're pretty much all automated by 1990, and I think in like Great Britain it was by the late 90s. So to have and I know there are still keepers at Cordouan Lighthouse in France.
Yeah, it's true. Still, it's a different type of keepers, but yeah, they still live there.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you been able to talk with any of the men who were stationed at Ile Vierge, with the keepers, to talk to them about their experiences there?
Last year, I met he was a lighthouse keeper in several lighthouses. He was just replacing the main ones, and he was stationed at some points in Ile Vierge, Jean-Marie Lebars. And I chatted with him about what they would do when they were working. So they need the playing or doing puzzles or constructing, like the bottle with the boat inside, all the stuff, just to know what they were. I was interested to know what they would do during relaxed time.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's always nice when you can make the connections with those people. Let me ask you, I climbed the lighthouse when I was there. And let me say, while I'm on that subject, you had a great tour guide there that day. You were not there the day I was there, but there was a woman by the name of, I think you said Eponine. Is that her name? Yeah, she was the tour guide. Yeah, she was fantastic. I noticed right away, to me, she spoke with an English accent. She told me she had studied in England, so but she was really good. And there was another young woman at the top of the lighthouse who was very helpful. So it was a great visit. I really enjoyed it so much. And it's a lot of stairs. I don't need to tell you that. A friend of mine, her name is Darlene Chisholm, who has visited well over 3,000 lighthouses in the world. Ile Vierge is her favorite lighthouse. And she told me there are 403 steps. And I have seen online on the internet, I've seen a range of like 365 up to over 400. And I didn't count them when I went up the stairs. But how many? What is the official count? Do you know the actual count of the stairs?
You'll have to come back to count them, but I'm
Okay.
gonna give you the I'm gonna give you the steps. In
Okay.
total, there are 397 steps until the lantern, but there are only 383 accessible to the public.
Well, that's tricky.
It is
So,
tricky.
so if somebody asks you how many stairs there are, what is the standard answer to that?
We literally explained the fact that there's 397, and then we said that there's 383 accessible to the public, and there's
Okay.
also a race against time that we launched on 2024, so people would associate 383 steps with the lighthouse now because of of that race against time that we launched in 2024.
Race against time.
Yep.
What's that? What's that all about?
So it's by groups, divided by groups. It's like a trail. They're gonna be running up the stairs, and we were gonna
Oh,
count the
okay.
time. For
Hmm.
the guys, it
Wow.
was 1 minute 23 seconds, and for the girls, it was 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
Wow. To go up all those stairs in 1 minute, would you say 20
Yeah, but you
seconds?
cannot use help. You cannot touch anything, the walls, anything. You have to run, just running.
Wow. I thought I did pretty well just getting up to the top, and I don't know how I didn't time myself, but it was a lot more than that, that's for sure. But wow. And my quad muscles, the fronts of my thighs, I don't think I've still fully recovered. I climbed a lot of tall lighthouses on that trip. That yours is the tallest, but I climbed a lot of other ones too, and I'm still a little tender from all from all that.
I
I'm not I'm not a kid anymore, so I gotta watch it. But
I understand.
I'm so glad I climbed that lighthouse. I can say I climbed the tallest lighthouse in the world. So let me ask you about that. I see that usually the height of the tower is given as 271 feet. And it's often said that it's the tallest traditional lighthouse in the world, in the sense that, there are taller towers that serve as aids to navigation, but they don't look like traditional lighthouses. I don't know of any taller traditional lighthouses. Is there like an official word on that? Do you tell people that it's the tallest lighthouse in the world, or what do you tell people about that?
When we are doing the visit, when we're talking about the lighthouse, we say that it's the tallest lighthouse in Europe and the tallest stone lighthouse in the world. But it is the tallest lighthouse purpose built for this. It was intended to be a lighthouse. The other one that is a like you say, like control tower in Jeddah Port. That's the tallest, but as the official lighthouse, as a lighthouse intended to be built for this purpose, it is the tallest.
Yeah, well, that's what I think. I agree. I agree with that. That sounds right to me. It's always a little dangerous to make absolute statements about lighthouses. I've learned that because I'll
It
say something and
is.
somebody will say, "Well, there's a taller one, blah blah blah." But I really think that Ile Vierge is the tallest.
I
Yeah.
checked on the Guinness World Record.
Hmm. Is Ile Vierge listed in the Guinness Book of World
It
Records?
is. It
Excellent. Well,
is.
then it's official. That it must be true. If they say so, it must be true. One of the things that is very noticeable when I went in the tower, I had heard about it in advance, but the walls on the interior of the tower are so beautiful. The tile, the blue tile. Why do you think they built it like that? It's one of the most beautiful interiors I've seen.
Yes, they are opaline tiles. They were made from a mixture of crystal dust and sheep bones. It helps repel the humidity and preventing the mold and protecting the wall from saltpeter. That's why it was made like that, to have a protected tower. At that period, opaline was really expensive, and in France there were only 4-5 lighthouses with opaline tiles in the interior.
Mm-hmm.
One is not here anymore. It was in Normandy, and 2 of them are in Finistère. We are in the North Finistère, and there's another one in the south, Eckmühl Lighthouse in Pamar, that also has opaline tiles.
Okay.
And there's 2 others in the south of France that I think just one is still open to the public. The other one, Cap Béar, is not open to the public.
Was it La Coubre that has?
La Coubre, yes.
Yeah, we were there on the tour, so I saw inside that. And that's incredible too, very beautiful. But I have to say that inside Ile Vierge, between that incredible tall spiral stairway, and you can see all the way up or down, in that stairway, and that blue tile that's so beautifully kept, everything looked pristine. So it has to be one of the most beautiful interiors I've ever seen.
It is beautiful.
Yes, the color, just that color of the opaline tile is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Does the lighthouse sway in high wind, do you think?
I mean, I think every building sways a little bit. We're never there when it's in really high winds.
Right.
The only thing I can say is that when people go up the lighthouse and I'm on the top of the lighthouse, they would tell me I don't feel like it's moving. So it's solid. They feel like it's solid. They don't have the impression that it moved. Did you have that impression when you went up?
No, I did not. It's just something I've been asked that in much smaller lighthouses, and I'm just wondering, with such a tall, slender lighthouse, if it would noticeably sway. And I'll mention, we have a lighthouse near where I live here, off the coast of southern Maine, called Boone Island. It's only about half as tall as Ile Vierge, but it's the tallest lighthouse in the area, and it's a tall, slender granite tower. And early on, they were afraid it swayed, so they call them tie rods, like these iron braces on the upper part of the tower to keep it from swaying. So I'm a little surprised they never did anything like that at Ile Vierge, but I guess it just built so well, planned so well that nothing was needed. Yeah. Clarify something for me. Who actually owns and manages the lighthouse? How does that work?
It's a little bit complicated. So the island itself and the lighthouse is owned by the Conservatoire du Littoral. So the coastal is an agency from the government, the French government. The lantern itself, it's owned by the Phare et Balises, the Beacons and Lighthouse Service, still a French government service. And then the lighthouse, the Communauté de Communes de Pays des Abers gave the tourist office from this area, the tourist office of Pays des Abers, the management of the visits and also the reservation for the eco lodge that is on the small lighthouse today. Yeah. So we manage everything that on the island, the visits, the gift shop, etc.
So you actually work for the tourism office, right?
Exactly. I work for the tourist office.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a great experience. The small boat takes people out there. I didn't know what to expect when I went there. It's a small community. There was a little ticket office and everything, but it's not a big operation, but it looks like there are constantly people going out to the island. Do you know any sense of numbers? How many people visit that island?
Last year we were around. We are open more or less, the lighthouse more or less. We're trying to open more during the year, but more or less last year we were 14,000, and I think we go up for 2,000 visitors more or less this year. Knowing that the Ile Vierge is a natural reserve and part of the island, you cannot visit it because there's a nesting area, bird nesting area. So there's a part of the island that cannot be visited until late July.
Yeah. Well, it takes a little bit of work, but I just would recommend to anybody who might be going to France, to that part of France, to go out of their way to get there. 'Cause it's amazing. It really is. So the keeper's house, the old keeper's house, that's part of the older lighthouse, is actually available for rent. I was seeing you can stay there. Who runs that operation?
As I said before, the Communauté de Communes, the
Hmm.
small government, but then we are the ones putting online reservations and managing all that,
Hmm.
the tourist office. And it was open to the public in 2021. You can rent, you can become, if you want, a lighthouse keeper yourself from 1 or 2 nights. You can stay on the island 1 or 2 nights.
Hmm.
And there could be until nine people in the
Yeah.
lighthouse.
What an experience that must be. Have you stayed out there yourself overnight?
Not yet, but I'm wanting to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I would love to. It looks fantastic. So again, the shorter lighthouse that still stands there with the attached keeper's house is 108 feet tall, which to us over here, that seems like a pretty tall lighthouse, but it's really dwarfed by the taller tower, of course. Is the smaller tower ever open to the public?
Now, it's only open to the public during the Heritage Days, the European Heritage Days, where the two lighthouses could be visited for free. Then again, you have to pay for the transportation, or you can come by yourself with your boat or your kayak or your paddle. But
Hmm.
that's the only time where you can visit both lighthouses.
But I walked around as much as I could while I was there, and was able to get really good photographic angles on both lighthouses. So that was good. When I was there in June, there was a group of actors on the island, and they were performing a show. And sadly, because my French is not good at all, I couldn't understand most of what they were saying. It looked like some of them were dressed as pirates, and there were some men and women dressed in very old-fashioned clothing and putting on some kind of show. But again, I couldn't tell what most of it was about. Is that something? Is that a regular thing, or was that a special day when I was there? What was going on with that?
There were no pirates involved. The play is set up on the 1900s.
Okay.
Uh, it's a play that we have done for several years now. We always try to find when to do it, and the tides help with it because we only go with the boats to the lighthouse at high tide. And
Mm-hmm.
that day, the tides were okay, and the performance, it was a walking performance called Les Passagers du Phare, the Lighthouse Passengers. And it was created by a Breton theory company. And they were actually, in some parts, they were speaking Breton, the Breton
Ah,
language.
okay.
And basically it was a journalist coming to the island during the period where the second lighthouse was being built. And they were one of the lighthouse keepers, one of the actors, it was his son, and doing like he was a lighthouse keeper, explaining the history of the island.
Hmm. I could have sworn there were pirates. I don't know
I
why.
think at one point maybe the way they were explaining probably some of the myths or legends around the coast, this
Hmm.
coast.
I wish I could have understood it. And now, of course, there's newer technology where you can have earphones in and hear live translation. Maybe I need to go back and try that. But it was a lot of fun being there, even though I didn't understand much of what they were saying. I have just a couple more questions for you. Okay, and these last couple of questions are for bonus points. All right. So okay, so get ready. First of all, what do you think Ile Vierge means to the local community? What does that place really mean to the area there?
I think lighthouses in general in Finisterre, in Brittany, they for many generations of family, they have grown with this light, with the presence of this light. So it's part of the daily lives and an important symbol for their identity as someone from Plougarneau, someone from Plungon Blanc, where Saint Mathieu. is. And for example, just an example for this would be the fact that from the night of the 1st of November to the 2nd of November, there was a lightning that destroyed the several pieces of the equipment from the lighthouse, and the light stopped. What happened afterwards? People were going a little bit crazy, calling the tourist office, calling the agencies that they would think that they would get answers, writing on Facebook, what happened to the light? They cannot function without this light because it's part of the day-to-day life.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It's, yeah. And people argue about how important lighthouses are to navigation these days. But aside from that, they're part of the community. It's part of the fabric of the community. And yeah, I know people miss the lights if they go out, the foghorns that have been kind of phased out. People tend to miss those. It's all part of that local fabric. So a final question for you for bonus points, okay? And that question is, what do you personally enjoy most about your association with Ile Vierge?
I think that the thing that I enjoyed the most would be, well, I come from an island. I think I didn't appreciate the fact that I was living on an island enough. And today I always close to the sea, to the ocean. And today, what I enjoy the most would be the fact that it's like a new adventure every day, because we can only go, as I said before, at high tide. So every day we have a different time to go to the island. During the summer, we go basically every day, but for more time than before. But literally every day I need to either have more like a beanie or have something else to put on to cover myself, or when it's really warm, it's a different type of acquired, or I think it's every day is a new adventure, and that's what I love the most.
That's a great way to put it. Every day is a new adventure. I've never been to Puerto Rico. That's high on my bucket list. I need to go there too.
We also have lighthouses. I think we have 15. I don't think we can visit them all.
Right.
I don't think we can. I think 2 or 3. There are now like cultural exposition places, but we also have lighthouses.
Oh, yeah. And the U.S. Lighthouse Society has brought tours to Puerto Rico before, and hopefully will again. Maybe I'll get to go sometime. I really hope so. But anyway, it was an absolute peak experience to visit Brittany and Ile Vierge and France in general. What a great experience it was for me and for the group of people we had on our tour. And I was glad I made the decision to spend a couple of extra days in Brittany myself. So it's certainly someplace I'll never forget. Valeria, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I hope we can talk again. And I hope I can get back there and check the count of the stairs myself and make sure that what you're telling me is correct.
Exactly. So. You have to come back to make sure that I'm telling the truth.
You sound trustworthy, so I think I believe you. Thank you so much, Valeria. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The island and the 1902 lighthouse are open to the public on special tour days in the summer. I didn't get to meet Valeria when I visited Ile Vierge in June, but the guides who were there were very helpful and knowledgeable. A local company takes visitors out by boat from the seaside resort of Plouguerneau, and landing on the island is only possible at high tide. The ticketing site is abertourism.com. That's ABERS-TOURISME.com. Also, overnight accommodations are available in the old keeper's quarters in the base of the 1845 lighthouse. I had an interesting time personally getting to Ile Vierge. I'll tell you the story. I bought my ticket in advance. When I got to Plouguerneau that day, there was some kind of festival going on and the road was blocked. A man was directing traffic. He started speaking French to me really fast. I speak un petit peu de français, and I didn't understand a word he said, but I took the detour. My GPS eventually got me where I needed to go. When I got there, the ticket office was closed, and I couldn't figure out where to get the boat. There was nobody in sight at first. Eventually, there were some people around. I asked a woman who spoke very good English. It turns out she was waiting for the boat, too, and she was very helpful, so everything worked out great. I found out wherever I went in France, local people were very helpful. Before I sign off for today, another exciting thing that's happening is that we're going to start doing some live streaming video versions of the podcast on YouTube Live. The tentative date for the first episode is January 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so watch for more announcements about that. A reminder to everyone to check out uslhs.org to learn about all the things the U.S. Lighthouse Society offers, including preservation grants, the quarterly journal, the online research catalog, tours, the passport program, and more. I also want to mention that I'm helping to lead a Down East Maine tour next September 6th to the 13th. Tina Hans will be the tour leader. I know it'll be a great tour. We'll be seeing about 25 lighthouses in a week. Sarah McHugh, host of the new Be the Light podcast, will also be on the tour. I hope we'll see some of our listeners on that one. I want to remind everyone that if you listen with Apple Podcasts, we'd appreciate it if you would rate and review us. You might hear your review read in an upcoming episode. We will be back next week with a Lighthearted Light episode, and we'll have a brand new episode in 2 weeks. I wish a very happy New Year to everyone. For now, to all our regular listeners and our new ones, thanks so much for listening, and keep a good light. I'm gonna let it shine.